Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me is my co-host, Richie Schneiderate. Richie, we have a good amount to talk about today. We're going to hit on some basketball, an update on the apparel contract, and some football stuff. But Rutgers fans can exhale a big sigh of relief because the portal closed last night at midnight. So now no new entries can enter the portal unless you get a waiver or unless you're a grad transfer. So really it's just a mostly exhale. But, Moat Mag did not enter the portal, which is a huge win for Steve Peichel staff. They're keeping one of their best players around for next year. So just tell us a little bit about what you're hearing with the portal and Rutgers.
Yeah, so I still obviously want to add one, but good news to start is Moat Mag is staying. He can enter the portal technically, but he'd have to sit out a year, and I don't see that one happening. But it sounds like he's staying. He's good to go. There were a lot of people in his ears. I guess we can kind of come out and say it now. Like some of the people he previously played under and former coaches and handlers or whatever you want to call them, the uncle. I guess we'll call him the uncle. We're very involved with trying to see how much money he could potentially make. And now that Rutgers has figured it out, and it sounds like he's staying at Rutgers. That's huge for them because I know he's not going to be healthy till December, January, but he's a key cog in this team, especially this year. And we say it enough on the pod. Next year too, like people keep talking about it, or are not talking about it.
I agree. That's like the understated reason why keeping him around is so huge, because he'll be the veteran leader on that team when Ace Bailey is a freshman, when potentially Dylan Harper's a freshman, when Gavin Griffiths is a sophomore. He'll be the only real veteran on the team. The senior.
Yeah.
He'll be the defensive stopper because all the other guys are freshmen. They're not used to the scheme and defensively that Pike runs. Even as you could be the most athletic, tenacious guy on the team, but there's still going to be intricacies that a senior is going to understand more than a freshman. So his presence is going to be huge for those teams. So it'll be healthy that whole season. So just got to hope he can keep him around for 2 seasons.
Yeah, just look at the roster outlook too. If you're looking right now based on commitments, and I'll throw Dylan in there for shits and giggles, but just say Delquan Warren or Derek Simpson at the 1. Your 2 is probably Dylan. Your 3, Gavin maybe, but Gavin, or if you don't want Gavin, you could even put Moat Mag at the 3, and put Ace at the 4, and then whoever your 5 is, Lathan. I think Moat kind of slides in that role pretty nicely because not only because of the veteran presence, but you need some defense at the end of the day. Yeah. I know this offense is going to be super high-powered offense, but with those guys on the court, but you need some defense. Delquan Warren's a good defender, but you need someone that can guard that wing role, and someone that can shut down the most opposing team's best player is typically a wing. Could a guard do it? Maybe sometimes, occasionally, but that you need someone to play that Caleb McConnell role that's going to chip in those 8 points and maybe 4 or 5 rebounds, maybe 6 rebounds even. And that's where Moat Mag kind of fits. And this is huge to get him back. Like I said, he won't be back till probably December, January, I'm hearing, which is fine. That's work him in slowly, get him back. And you could have a totally different team from the first month and a half to 2 months of basketball than the last couple. So, and I think he's going to be he'll play a huge role for this program going forward.
Yeah, things could look really good for Rutgers next year by the time, February rolls around and you have Watt back healthy. You have some of the freshmen acclimated to the Big Ten at that point.
Yeah.
Like this should be a tournament team if things go the way we think they are, which is Cliff potentially coming back. Cliff did not get an NBA Combine invite, which if you want Cliff back, that's a good first step. The G League Combine is coming up. I believe that's this weekend.
It is,
and
yeah.
You can, if you perform well enough at the G League Combine, you can earn like kind of an at-large bid to the NBA Combine, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
I think 7 players last year from the G League Combine earned an NBA Combine invite out of it. So that's still a threat. But if he doesn't earn an NBA Combine invite from the G League Combine invite, I can't imagine that he sticks in the draft. That's just... they're basically telling you you're not even good enough right now to, be one of the guys we consider to draft, let alone in the draft. So
Yeah, no, they definitely it definitely sounds like he's going to be back. I've actually, I'll admit to this, been stalking his Instagram just trying to see what like NBA workouts he's going on, and
Hmm.
he always posts like on his story where he's at. He went to the Brooklyn Nets. He had a workout. He had a workout with the Celtics. He had someone else too. I forget who it was. I want to say for some reason Chicago, but I don't think that's correct. But I know he's had 3 to 4 NBA workouts already, and I saw the Wintrust Arena in the background. I'm like, why the hell is he there?
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, hold on, wait, G League Elite camps this weekend. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. But going back to what he's going to do, I think he comes back. I don't think he earns one of those invites. If he does, great, because that means he's got an even better chance of getting drafted. If he doesn't, also great, because then that
Yeah.
means he's coming back most likely. Um, yeah, I mean, Cliff coming back, I think, is going to be one of the obviously one of the main contributors. It was tied technically for points per game last year, and I know I caused a little controversy on the boards today with that little post, but I had him as number 2 for points per game next year. I still think Spencer leads it,
Yep.
and Cliff's going to be number 2. Fernandez is going to get his probably 10 to 11 points, and then this is where the controversy comes in. 4 and 5 are probably interchangeable, but I decided to go 4 Mulcahy, who I think is going to play that facilitator role. He's going to get a lot more open looks, I think, too.
Yeah.
And he wasn't awful from 3 last year. He had 37%, which was what, second best on the team? That's not saying much for the team, but so I mean, I don't know. I think Paul at 4 is very reasonable.
So I do think that Paul could have his best season of his career at Rutgers if he transitions more into a wing role and
Mm-hmm.
he's more of just like a spot up shooter. Because if you think about it, Fernandez and Noah, not Noah, Fernandez and Simpson are going to be these 2 slashing type guards who can create some space on the inside and like kick it out to open shooters. And you got to imagine that I'm sorry, Jesus, can't talk today. You got to imagine that Cam Spencer and Gavin Griffiths are going to be the players that are expected to get these kick out looks.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul could be, just getting, the worst defender on the court at all times because he's not quite as good a shooter as those two, but he shot 37% last year
Yeah.
on decent volume. And sometimes, if you look at a guy like, I'm not comparing him to PJ Tucker, but PJ Tucker, like he only gets one shot and it's the corner 3 and he's really good at it. And if he just like finds his niche like that, I think Paul could be a super valuable offensive player. And he could still do his, back down old man game stuff when, he needs to. Like he could still be the main distributor at points, but he won't be, the go-to point guard anymore.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine. That's not a big deal. This role I think is gonna be huge for him, like you just mentioned. He was also fifth in points per game last year, so I don't think it's unheard of. I know Andre Hyatt's points per game were technically up there. Um, those are it's weird because like points per game is a little skewed because you'll have a guy like go for 2 points one game, he'll go for 13 the next, he'll go for 2 points again, he'll go for 12, then he'll go to 0 and 10 and 6 and 5, and it gets all kinds of messed up in college, especially when you have big rotations. Like Derek averaged 7, and I thought that was pretty legitimate. But then you like who else? I'm trying to think. There's got to be one like outlier here, right? No, I guess not really. But yeah, no, I think Paul's in for a big year. And then 5th, I had Gavin Griffiths, but that could also be interchangeable with Simpson. I think Simpson could be right there as a 6-man type role. I think Hyatt could even be right there again. Um, it's nice to have depth for a change. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. And Watt Mag, I didn't even mention him.
Yeah. No, fingers crossed, we should have the most depth under Pike next season that he's ever had,
Yeah,
if things all go to plan. But we've all seen how plans go. They don't always work out. But
yeah.
fingers are crossed, like I said.
Well, speaking of plans, it sounds like even if I didn't mention it before in regards to Quiff, even if Quiff does make the draft or stay in the draft or whatever, sounds like they have a backup plan just in case. I don't have a name specifically, but they do have a plan in place. It sounds like so. We'll see what
Is this a
happens.
portal kid?
Yeah, it sounds like they have a portal guy
Interesting.
ready to go in case. Now, mind you, I don't know what the logistics are behind that. Like, is this kid just
Yeah.
waiting for Rutgers? I don't know. Um, but it sounds like there's a backup plan in place. They have a plan for everything for the most part. They also still want to add one guy. They still have one ship or 2 ships open technically, even if Paul and Cliff do return. So I think Pike always wants to leave that one ship open for that walk on that he always gives gifts. I shouldn't gives whatever you want to call it a scholarship to, and that's a culture thing, which I'm perfectly fine with. Most 13th guys don't even play, so whatever.
Yeah.
So give it to a walk on, and everyone loves it. The team loves it. You get a little morale boost for the guys, and then that other ship though, I don't know where you can go, and that's where a guy like one that entered the portal yesterday, Supreme Cook, at number 1 all-time name list, New Jersey native, played for Jay Young. It plays that 4-5 role, plays a 5 for Fairfield, but would probably could sneak the 4 at times next to Cliff because he can score. He averaged 13 and 8, I think it was last year. So not a bad option right there.
Plus, that's an NIL deal waiting to happen with Supreme Cook Supreme.
With Supreme, imagine.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that NIL deal. you guys want to talk NIL deals? That one would be through the roof.
Home run.
Yeah.
Pivoting a little bit, Rivals National Basketball recruiting analyst Rob Cassidy was on our podcast, obviously on Monday. He came out with a Twitter Thursday article yesterday where he takes questions on Twitter and he addresses them. And one of the questions was from a Rutgers fan about Dylan Harper. And he said, from what he's hearing right now, and this is just kind of reiterating what he said on the podcast, he's hearing that Dylan Harper is slightly leaning to Rutgers, and he's starting to feel better and better about Rutgers' chances with Dylan Harper. Now, obviously, we've said this ad nauseum on the podcast, but just felt it was worth mentioning and, bring it up again. Does this fall in line with what you're hearing?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, it's the same exact thing. Nothing crazy. It's still Duke or Rutgers. I have Rutgers in the lead. Like I'm very confident in that. I like every day I inch a little bit closer, and I'm like hovering over that button sometimes, and I'm like, just click it, just futurecast it, be that guy. Have everyone DM you and be like, "What's going on? What'd you hear? Oh my God!" Like, and I'm like, you know what? Not today. See, maybe tomorrow. So yeah, no, I like definitely one of say Rutgers is in a pretty good spot right there, and everything we're hearing, Brandon Knight's putting in a ton of work. He's got a great relationship with that family, with both mom and dad. Sounds like mom wants him close to home. She's running the recruitment completely, which is fine. You just got to win over mom, and that's like kind of the MO for most recruitments. You win over mom, you get the kid, and sounds like Rutgers is doing just that.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt that Pike helped take her other son, who wasn't a very highly sought after recruit, and turned him into an NBA player. So that never hurts either.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm glad you brought up Brandon Knight, because obviously the reporting you had done was that Peichel was going to wait until the portal closed to really turn the heat up on his assistant coaching search. So we could talk about the former Rutgers assistant coach as well, because you're hearing something regarding what
holy shit,
gotten at Georgia Tech.
You guys want to talk money?
Yeah, let's talk about the open assistant coaching role. Do you expect more news to kind of trickle out about that over the next week or so?
Yes and no. So yes, as in he's going to start these interviews on campus. It sounds like it's down to a short list. A couple people I talked to, college basketball coaches. So these are guys, like, I'll give you a little insight into the sources here. These are guys that are at the mid-major level. So actually 2 are at the high major level that don't have interest in the job. And it's kind of just what they're hearing from their perspective. A couple of them have really close ties to Steve from back in the day. Coaching with him in the coaching ranks years ago. But basically it sounds like Jonathan Mitchell actually has a legitimate shot, which I think Rutgers fans will be pretty excited about.
Wow.
I can assure you as a fact currently, Dave Leto, who we had on our list, is no longer a candidate. My finger looked really big right there. Number 2, Brett McConnell is no longer a candidate. Who else was that? There's another name I was thinking of. I can't remember. But yeah, they definitely want to get this thing like kind of settled a little bit. It does sound like he does want a big man type coach, and people were, Mitchell's not a big man. What? He was a 6'7" forward / guard for us. Dude, he's like the new age big man. Don't really matter. He's actually a pretty good recruiter too, from what I've heard. I was looking up who he's recruited, and I know I mentioned it last time. They landed a Minnesota transfer. out over 2 Stetson, which is impressive in its own right. They've produced several top players in that conference. I don't even know what conference it is, but it's in that conference. They were ranked in the all conference teams or whatever. Highest first winning season at Stetson in like 25 years or some shit, which is impressive again. I'm actually
they're in the
go on.
ASUN conference.
Okay, there you
Atlantic
go.
Sun.
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of Mitchell. I don't really know what other names are involved, but I know there's a shit ton of names that have reached out. So there might be a big name out there for all we know. But yeah, I mean, I think it's not next week. I think probably I'm closer toward the end of May. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a Memorial Day news dump, and it's like everyone's off, and here's the news, and yeah, that's kind of all we got on that right now.
Well, our guy Richard Kent a couple days ago, he had a pretty interesting tweet about the coaching search. He said, "From a high major D1 coach last night, the Rutgers assistant position is more coveted than you can imagine. No better boss than Steve Peichel, and working with TJ and Brandon will be a treat. Steve is not rushing into this, as chemistry is crucial."
Yes.
So this isn't any different than what you've been saying, but it's kind of reiterating that there might be some bigger names than we anticipated that are secretly interviewing for this. And a lot of times, like, if you interview for another job and it gets out, it could totally derail your career, because then the coach you're working for is pissed off at you. The recruits you're trying to bring to that school might think twice. Like, it is so imperative to keep these things a secret that there's a reason why a lot of this doesn't get out, because nobody wants it to get out. Steve doesn't want to screw the guy over. The guy doesn't want to screw himself over. And unless you're getting the job, you don't want people to know that you interviewed, because, you know, if you don't get chosen, that looks bad too. So it doesn't surprise me little has come out about this, because Steve does a really good job at keeping these things under lock and key.
Yeah, no, he's done a phenomenal job with this one too. I've reached out to so many people. I've reached out to, and most of you that are on Twitter, like, will know these names. I've reached out to Samurai Hoops. I've reached out to Trilly Donovan, and they've both told me the same thing. They go, "Dude, do you have any info? Because we have nothing either." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, dude, the dude just got everything unlocked. This is actually super impressive." So I think the only way that we're gonna find out if something's going on is if you kind of stalk the rack. But like, I don't know. I just it's tough. It's nothing's leaking out at all, and he's doing a great job of it. And the other thing I want to point out too, it's Brandon Knight is the lead guy here. I don't think there's a question in terms of assistant coaches. TJ's probably his right-hand man or second in command. So I don't know if you're not going to target a big name dude that's going to step on toes there. And that's what I think Richard Kent's kind of insinuating with culture. Like, you need some guy that's not going to step on toes, understand where he fits in the pecking order, which he might be an equal with TJ. He might be next to TJ, but Brandon Knight is that lead assistant dude. He's your associate head coach. You're not changing that.
And you have to do everything in your power to keep Brandon happy. Because
no shit.
You do not land Ace Bailey, and you do not land Dylan Harper without Brandon Knight being on staff. And maybe that's a little overblown, but he is so close to both those families. He's the lead recruiter on both those guys. You don't want to jeopardize that.
No, and I said this to someone the other day, and they kind of agreed with me. I do think he might be the head coach in waiting. I know Steve's not going anywhere anytime soon. He's got a lifetime contract, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to make you almost spit that up.
It's a bit of an inside joke there, but anyway.
Yeah, people understand. Like, they've seen that the lifetime contract wasn't a lifetime contract, but it's 14 years younger than Pike. Pike's 55. How long do we really expect Pike to keep going? I'm not insinuating he's going to quit anytime soon. I mean, Jim Calhoun coached till he was what, like 70 something
at UConn. Yeah, I mean, something around there.
But I would argue Brandon Knight's the head coach in waiting at the moment, and I wouldn't be shocked if you have to pay the guy. If this man's going to land Ace and Dylan, I know everyone's like, yeah, you know, he's got a ton of money. Like, no, like, fuck no, dude, give him more. Give him, and then give TJ a bump too, because TJ's been quietly killing it. Everyone wants to talk about like how Brandon Knight's landed Ace. He's probably going to land Dylan. TJ's been killing it in his own right. Like, he's landed most of these other guys. He was a big role in Griffiths. Who else? I think Delquan or Somerville, one of the two, or maybe both. I forget.
Not sure. I know that he's obviously super connected with the New England prep scene, which could be huge because there's a lot of really good players in New England the next few classes. Not saying that Rutgers will be involved, but like,
Yeah.
there's AJ. I can't even pronounce his last name. It's like DeBansta from Massachusetts, who's the number one player in 26. There's a top 10 kid from Vermont in 25. Like, again, not saying we're going to land these kids, and Cooper Flagg is originally from New Hampshire, but he's going to Duke. We already kind of discussed that, but
yeah,
a lot of talent in New England right now.
Kind of piggybacking on that. Well, number one, he recruited both Warren and Somerville. So there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Griffiths. We have an article coming out this weekend or Monday, I forget, of the 2 new Rutgers offers at Putnam Science Academy I'm not even going to try to say this one. Oswin. Yeah, I don't know this. Oswin Erhun dude, this is a rough one. But he's a fast riser. I just sent it in the chat. You could try to pronounce that one if you want.
Oh man, that's a lot of letters.
Yeah, no, that's a tough one. There's 27 letters in the alphabet, and he's got about 16 of them in there.
His last name's 11 letters long, so yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, and you is 2 of them. So all right, whatever. You get the point. Ben Ahmed too. So they're pursuing this New England area extremely hard, and I get it. Like, it makes sense. They produce now. Like, they're producing talent at a high rate, and then of course the Jersey kids too. So I think this is you got to pay both those guys. I don't care what they really want, but in terms of keeping the staff together for the most part, yeah, you lost Tom Barrett to Sacred Heart too, but that's a promotion. You always want guys to do that. Some people on the boards are like, who's that? And I'm like, Tom Barrett was pretty damn like influential in terms of like recruiting and on-campus visits and stuff like that. So don't just knock that one. So you got to replace two spots, and one of them has to be Mitchell. Back to what I was saying before. I think Jonathan Mitchell makes sense for either role. Would you want to get him as assistant coach? Probably, because I would want him to be on the road traveling. But end of the day, I would take him in either way. And it does sound like Mitchell's also talking to a couple other high majors as well. So
interesting.
So you got to keep an eye on that. So if you want him, you probably got to get him soon. Would be the case.
Do you expect both roles to kind of be filled roughly around the same time?
Yeah, that's a good question, because the Barrett news probably came out, I think, 2 weeks ago, when I posted, or I hinted at it on the boards that someone was leaving. Maybe if it's the right fit, yeah. If not, I could see like one being like an assistant coach being a priority, and then it's like, all right, now let's see what kind of candidates are left over that still actually want to coach with us and not just be on the coach on the road dude. We've heard some names, like the one we mentioned, but I'm going to keep that for the boards right now.
So if you're not a member of the boards already, go to Rutgers Rivals. Richie has a promo going on right now for a free month using the promo code John Garcia.
Rivals Garcia.
Rivals Garcia, sorry.
Yeah.
So if you're not a member already, why give it a shot. 30 days free trial. You're going to love it. You're not going to want to leave. So sorry for the gateway drug there, but it is what it is. You might have gotten some clarity as to why Carl Hobbs left recently. It sounds like Georgia Tech has given him the proverbial bag. Tell us what you're hearing about Carl Hobbs and Georgia Tech there.
Yeah, I get my notepad out. I got a whole list of notes now. 750,000 reasons why Carl Hobbs went to Georgia Tech, and all of them start with money. So you got a fucking payday and a half, which not shocking.
What was he making at Rutgers? He was making like half that, right?
Yeah, I think so. I can actually pop that up, I believe. Nope, never mind. His thing's gone. So I've posted it actually, I think.
Let's see if I can find it while you're going through your notes there.
Yeah, so no, I mean $750,000. Like, holy shit. But that makes a lot of sense. I did pop it up real quick. He made, just to put it in perspective, $360,000. Yeah. I mean, that kind of makes sense why he left. I think most of us would probably take a double my salary increase, and then some. But yeah, no, I mean, that's number one reason why he left makes sense. Number two, he was in charge of the offense. there was no offense. That needed to be fixed, and I get it a little bit. I mean, you probably could have kept it. You probably would have stayed if they could have. Sorry, Discord just popped up. Yeah, they probably would have kept him if he didn't want to leave, but he ended up wanting to leave. That's fine. Change up the offense, get some new blood in there. And Georgia Tech has money at the end of the day. Like, it's not a secret. Like, that's why this $750K, like, I saw it at first. I'm like, oh shit, it's a lot of money. And then I'm like, you know what? Georgia Tech has a bankroll. It's not like a super shocking thing. Quietly, they have a nice NIL collective thing going. I don't know what you call it anymore. Collective, not collective. They have NIL, like a significant amount of it. Just put it like that. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, in terms of football, that ain't gonna buy you shit, because, like I was told the other day, they had one of the worst fucking campuses these recruits have ever been to, and I'm like, oh shit, really? That's the worst one? Like, that's what you're gonna go with? Like, okay. I'm gonna do something with that too. Actually, I'm gonna write that down for Rivals Camp. I'm gonna see if I can get anonymous recruits to tell me their worst visit.
That'd be funny.
That'd be awesome, actually.
I'm sure you'll have some coaches not be very happy with you.
Oh yeah, that should be fun. Yeah, what do you mean we had the worst visit at UMass? There's nothing there, dude. Like, of course you had the worst visit at UMass. Like,
yeah, you live in Amherst. You should know these things by now.
Yeah, like, geez. Anyway, but yeah, no, 750,000 reasons why I would also leave, but that's not a shock. Also, like, I hate to say it, I'm not going to knock the dude too much, but you recruited one dude to Rutgers ever, and that's technically Mag, but I say technically because that was a group effort. He recruited Bay Ndongo to Rutgers, who still hasn't committed, weirdly enough. I guess that maybe they don't have NIL. But
that seemed like it should have been a pretty straightforward open shut situation, but the fact that it hasn't, and we'll talk about another situation like that later. The fact that it hasn't happened yet is kind of weird.
I still think he ends up there, to be fair, but
yeah,
whatever.
Dotting the T's and crossing the I's there on
there you go.
that NIL contract.
Yep.
All right, let's do a little bit of pivot. Speaking of contracts, Rutgers apparel deal runs through the end of, I believe, June or July. So there's going to be a new apparel contract for Rutgers athletics coming up. What are you hearing regarding the Rutgers apparel contract negotiation?
Well, it's 2-horse race. And so get this stupid Under Armour ideas out of your head. It's gone. It's dead. Let it die, please, because it's just not worth. Looked into it a little bit too. Actually, I'll get into that in a second. So it's 2-horse race. It sounds like Nike has a deal on the table. Adidas might come back and match, and then give some more. So we'll see what happens in that regard. We're kind of just waiting. The Big Ten's dominated like most conferences. So I was looking it up today. This is from 2021. So these stats obviously aren't 100% accurate. Well, they were in 2021, not in 2023. But 52% of Power 5 schools, high major schools, are Nike. 28% are Adidas. That's up from, it used to be 13% were Adidas. So that's a significant increase. So people are starting to get more on the Adidas train, which makes sense. 13% Under Armour, 5% Jordan. So those two are out though, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And then 0.8% were New Balance. So you freaks in Boston College, you can keep that one. And just, I don't even know why you did it, but you did it. So congrats. You have Kawhi Leonard's for your basketball shoe. Great. I actually feel bad for those kids.
Yeah.
That's why basketball stinks up there. But I guess they were decent this year, so whatever.
So New Balance is a Boston area company. I guess maybe that's the connection. But yeah, it's still it's an embarrassment.
It's not good. Like, what are you doing? Oh shit, where am I going? I'm trying to pop this back up. I think it is June 30th, if I recall correctly. I forgot the exact day. On top of that, the Big Ten has 7 Nike, 3 Adidas, 3 Under Armour, which I think they're the only conference with 3 Under Armour, which I kind of hate, but whatever. And 1 Jordan, who used to be Adidas. I think Michigan used to be Adidas before Jordan.
Yes.
So that's interesting. I found that. And then 7 out of the top 20 NIL deals, mind you, or NIL, apparel deals. You can see where my mind is. It's all fucking NIL. It's disgusting. But 7 out of the top 20 from 2021 were Adidas. 3 were Under Armour, and the rest were Nike. So 10 Nike, 7 Adidas. It's closer than people think. Like, it's not like as crazy. The other thing that I found interesting is UConn was number 19 in the top apparel deals. What does UConn have that's like good? No offense. Exactly.
Oops.
And that's what's driving the bus right now for Rutgers. So shout out you, Dave, for being excited about that little comment on the Discord I made the other day.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's gonna be driving the bus. We'll see where it kind of goes. I know it sounds like a lot of people do want Nike still, which isn't a super shock because it's the better recruiting tool as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I did find it interesting that Ace's AOT running Rebels, their AAU program, is now Adidas. It was Nike. It was EYBL. It switched to Adidas. So I don't know. We'll see and see. But Dylan Harper plays Nike. I think Lathan Somerville, I said, plays. I think he actually plays on the Under Armour circuit too. I don't really know what they're going to do. So I think it's just going to be Nike or Adidas with Nike in the lead. But if Adidas offers you like tier 1 status, you can't really say no to that.
Yeah, no, you can't say no. And I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think that part of being in that tier 1 is these apparel deals, these apparel companies being open to giving direct NIL deals to your athletes as well, because that is the next phase of NIL in my eyes. These apparel companies giving players direct NIL deals. We saw it last year. Nike signed 5 basketball players to NIL deals: DJ Wagner, Bronny James, Caitlin Clark, and 2 other female basketball players. Mm-hmm. Adidas did the same. They signed a bunch of kids to NIL deals. Trace Jackson Davis had an NIL deal with Adidas. Jalen Hood-Chavino had a deal with Adidas. Grady Dick had a deal with Adidas, and Hansel Emmanuel had a deal with Adidas. So Hansel Emmanuel, you've probably seen him. He played basketball at Northwestern State last year. He has one arm, and he's playing D1 basketball, and he's really good. Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't surprise me if part of Mackenzie Mbako's recruitment was because Adidas was willing to give a really big NIL deal, because it's 2 finalists, Indiana and Kansas, both Adidas schools. So I do think that this could be a bargaining chip. Now, like you said, if Nike's willing to, give you similar money, but Adidas is offering tier 1 versus Nike's tier 2, I find it hard to turn that down, because the tier 1, it comes with all these different customized apparel. It comes with, you probably get like employees from Adidas like that are fully 100% Rutgers liaison. So, if you want to do some kind of special event, Adidas would craft specific gear for that. Like, there's a level of attention that you get for being a tier 1 school, like a white glove treatment that is tough because it's ultimately branding. Like, Rutgers will shine brightest in terms of its brand if you're getting treated as a tier 1 school, because it's in the apparel deals, the apparel company's best interest to elevate you as much as possible. Additionally, you've said it's most important for these basketball teams and basketball in general for apparel to get these shoes and get this gear on the feet and on the bodies of high-end basketball players. And who is Rutgers recruiting recently? High-end basketball players. So that is going to drive the bus, like you said, for these apparel talks. And it doesn't hurt to have these guys ready to go in the chamber 2 years from now in Ace Bailey and potentially Dylan Harper. So I think that's a huge part of it. And you've already said that, so I'm not, I'm just repeating kind of what you said. But I do think that there's some stuff that might be in play that we're not really fully thinking about right now in terms of NIL related stuff with these apparel deals.
The other cool thing is you're going to get, like, I know you mentioned exclusives. You get like the cool shit too for a change, which is nice. Like, don't get me wrong, Rutgers has had some cool stuff. Like they were involved. I think they're tier 2 right now for Adidas. So they got the Black History Month uniforms like a couple years ago.
Yeah, those are really nice.
Those were nice. I know some of the other schools like Indiana gets, like, I think a custom uniform every year. Miami, Mississippi, Mississippi State, I'm sorry, Kansas, I think, and then Louisville are the top 5, and that's tier 1, I believe. I might be wrong on that because they don't really reveal who's what,
Yeah.
but you have to kind of just guess based on the shit they're getting, which,
Yep.
I mean, Adidas in Indiana, Adidas in Kansas makes sense. Like, they're giving them everything possible. The other thing is that no one in the Northeast has Adidas.
Yep.
So that's kind of their segue into the Northeast. UConn has what did I just say before? Nike. UConn has Nike. Pittsburgh has Nike. Syracuse has Nike. Maryland's Under Armour. Who am I also missing? Under Armour's Seton Hall as well. There's someone else. Oh, Penn State's Nike. Temple. I don't know. I'm not even going to count Temple. It doesn't really matter. No offense. That kind of offense. Yeah. I mean, there's really there's no Adidas schools in the Northeast. And then you have that weird school up north doing New Balance. Like, there's no Adidas schools.
Yeah.
I'm shitting on Boston College today. I don't really care, though. It's Friday.
You could scream at them as loud as you want. They don't have fans, so they're not going to hear anything.
Dude, and you're not wrong. After what? It was a Rutgers home game in September. Holy shit. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, no Adidas schools. So I think if Adidas wants to get into this area, I think you're crazy if you don't offer them a tier 1 package. Like, there's no one else in the Northeast that has Adidas. And plus, you got New York City right there with NIL and all this good stuff now. Go put Ace Bailey on a billboard in New York City with an Adidas logo. Everyone's going to be like, yo, where's the Adidas store?
Mm-hmm.
There. Like right there in Times Square. So, yeah, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper even. And that's kind of like what you were mentioning before. That's the NIL pitch. And I think they'd be a little crazy not to give them that T1 status, tier 1 status, T1 status, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't see Pike's recruiting slowing down. They've already they're in the top group for a top 25 kid in the class of 25 and Darius Adams. They've clearly been able to just pull kids seemingly out of nowhere, not out of nowhere in terms of a guy like Ace Bailey, everyone knew, but the idea that Rutgers was going to be a factor in his recruitment, if you would have said that a year ago, I would have had a hard time believing that, despite all the good buzz we were hearing. So Pike's shown that he's elevated his recruiting, and I don't see that changing. So I think the apparel brands can comfortably rely on Rutgers having top recruits in their apparel moving forward. You see, shop
no, I saw that. Yeah, I accidentally retweeted something on the Rutgers account that was Penn State, but we'll ignore that.
Oops.
So all you that have notifications on that account, just ignore that one. You know who I'm talking about. No, anyway. I mean, Adidas, I like Adidas too. It's comfortable. I don't mind it. I have their basketball shoes. I have Nike basketball shoes. I'll admit I was Adidas basketball shoes for a while, but they're just not I want my foot to be tight in the shoe. Mm-hmm. I didn't like that. I have the Trae Youngs, and I just didn't think they were they're nice. Don't get me wrong, they're a very nice shoe. It's cool. I got the Ice Trae Youngs. Mm-hmm. And it's got the little fucking slushy logo on the back, and it says icy. And I'm like, this is sick. I'm paying whatever this costs. I bought it. And then I was like, you know what? I cannot run in these. I can't jump. I feel like the shoe's going to fall off. So I switched to Nike, and I got the Giannis shoes now, and I love them. And I'll never go back, I don't think. But
yeah,
I mean, if they're going to give you tier 1 status again, it's just fuck, okay, whatever. We're not going to question it. So, and you've recruited this well with Adidas, so who cares?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a bit of a disadvantage not to be a Nike school, but if Adidas makes up for it in other places, I think it's a complex situation, as I guess what we're saying. It's not just one thing, or it's just not being in the most popular brand. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and there's a lot of factors to consider when you're trying to make a decision on apparel as an athletic department.
Yeah. Which, I mean, hey, if you're Adidas, you got to kind of make a decision soon. It's fucking May 12th. You have what? A month and a half, a little bit. So
yeah, no, and honestly, it wouldn't be surprising if a deal was already hammered out with one of these companies, and you just can't announce it.
Wouldn't shock me at all.
So
yeah, but it's I mean, yes and no, because it'd be shocking because last time this came around, it was February they announced it. So I think they're actually still negotiating, from what I've been told.
Yeah, no, that's very what I'm saying mainly is it's
they know what they want. It's just a matter of you know what, let's just see what they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway,
so that's where we're at with apparel. Let's pivot now to football. You've put in the war room today. You had a lot of juicy football nuggets. You put in some new future casts. So just talk about
Yes.
what you're feeling recruiting wise with Rutgers football.
We're starting to get a little uptick. We're in that time of the year. It's May going into June. I don't know if we'll see these guys commit this month in the month of May because there's not really visits on campus at all. But I mean, I guess there is a couple visits on campus. Not a lot though. Not a lot going on because there's no football to watch. So, 2 new future casts. Since it is public knowledge, I'll just tell you. Benjamin Black, 2024 wide receiver, out of Mallard Creek High School, North Carolina. I just mentioned last pod, 2 pods ago, 3 pods ago, Isaiah Crumpler was the first ever North Carolina kid since Shiano's returned to the Banks. Now they're going to get 2 in this class, I think. Benjamin Black is a speedster. He's crazy fast, and I sent it to you the other day, I think, actually, Mike. I sent you the his broad jump. I don't remember what it was, but it was something crazy.
He had a 10-7 broad jump, and I think that I don't know if it was a track event that he was at, but the next biggest jump was like almost a foot less than that. And to give you an idea, that's obviously a combine event that the NFL does. If he would have been in the combine just with that number alone for wide receivers, it would have put him like middle of the pack as like a 16-year-old. So pretty substantial.
Yeah, he's a freak athlete. He ran a 4.40 also at UNC. So like wow. he the quote was, and this is from our North Carolina State website. I know that doesn't sound right. That doesn't equal up, but this is North Carolina State offered, and North Carolina, he's like, yeah, I ran a 4.4, but I knew I could run that 4.3. I've clocked a 4.38 before, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how fast are you?
Yeah.
But yeah, 34.5-inch vertical at 5'11 is pretty impressive. He's 5'11, like 170-ish. I think he's got a ton of potential. I actually really like this kid a lot. Very high on his game. He's quick. You can't teach speed, clearly, and he's athletic as fuck. So I think you're kind of crazy that anyone that's kind of hating on this, because I know he doesn't have stars yet, but he'll be on campus June 9th? June 2nd. Okay, June 2nd. They're supposed to only have 2 weekends for official visits, but that kind of made a little switch up when Nigel Smith, who's a 4-star Rivals 200 kid out of Texas, was like, hey, I can't make that weekend. They're like, okay, we'll make this work. Rivals 100 kid. Rivals top 75 kid, sorry.
Yeah, big time recruit.
Yeah, so he's coming May 19th, which is the weekend before Memorial Day. And he's actually the first one I've noticed that's taking 6 official visits.
Yeah, yep. Because that rule changes as of June 1st, right?
Yeah. So his next, I know everyone's going to look at his official visit schedule. How's he doing that? It doesn't start till actually July 1st. And take it back. 1st, okay. And how's he taking 6? And I'm like, yeah, he's taking 5 before July, and then he's taking 1 in September, which everyone. Anyway, I don't think he's going to Rutgers, so he's not one of the future casts. So calm down. The other one is a big name though. Willie Love out of Camden. He's technically an athlete. He's technically a DB, and I think they'll start him out at DB and start in that safety role. But I do think he's a linebacker through and through. 6'4", 210 already. It's kind of like you pack on 15, 20 pounds, and it's like, oh shit, like bump it down.
Yeah.
Kind of that's happened quite a bit. I feel like in Shiano's first tenure, you've noticed it.
Yeah. That was always the everybody got bumped down.
Yeah.
You come in as a linebacker, you end up as defensive end. You come in as a DN, you end up as a D tackle. You come in as a safety, you get bumped down to a linebacker, like pretty consistently.
Yeah, so that math kind of worked back then in the Big East when it wasn't as big. The Big Ten is big. It's big boy football. So it's a little bit tougher to do that with some guys. But you can't have an undersized tackle. I think we've realized that. Joyce Turner worked a little bit, but it wasn't phenomenal either. So, not mind you, him in the Big East, holy shit, might have been fucking great.
Yeah.
Willie Love. I got him projected to Rutgers. I have a really good connection here with some guys down in South Jersey, and it sounds like Willie Love's really favoring the Scarlet Knights. He has 1 official visit currently to Rutgers. He's got a ton of offers, but it sounds like the main comp is Syracuse and Maryland, which you should beat out more times than not. He's number 4 in state. I don't think he's going to stay there. We're going to have a big switch up in the state rankings coming up. I think June or late May, I forget. I think the top spot changes. Number 1, I don't think Houston Willis stays there. I think we'll see a lot of guys moving around. So when people yell at me and say that's the Rutgers curve, I'm telling you ahead of time before he commits to Rutgers, it's probably going to change. So that's something to keep an eye on. But it's more about, like, for Willie's projection and his ranking, it's more about finding out what he truly is, because like we've seen him in the past, he's looked really good, but he's grown since then. Now he's 6'4", 210 currently, and those numbers are actually probably from last year. I saw a little bit of him at the Rivals camp, and he was playing DB, or not Rivals, Under Armour camp, and he didn't look bad. I thought he looked pretty good. Now let's see how he does at the Rivals camp, where there's a little bit more competition, a lot better competition, and kind of see how he fits, and then we'll go from there in terms of ranking wise. But Rutgers has a great shot, and this is a big win for Demir Shaw, who will be a big win for Demir Shaw probably, who's starting to quietly emerge as a pretty good recruiter.
Yeah, be the first 4-star in the class. Did we land a 4-star last year? I don't think we did.
Nope.
So be the first 4-star in a couple recruiting classes, which is obviously huge. You want to even when a 4-star doesn't work out, the fact that you can point to the fact that you landed X amount of 4-stars, it's a good recruiting tool. It's a good messaging thing. And Greg, as we know, is all about different spins and messages about the football program. So it's a good thing to recruit on. Side note, there's Adam Brenneman, former Penn State and UMass tight end. He's now in the media. He's got a podcast, I believe, called
Adam's Show or something like that.
He's got a podcast called Next Up. He interviews people long form. He's doing a bit of an off season circuit of interviewing college coaches, and he teased that the new episode of his podcast will feature Greg Schiano. Greg Schiano sat down to do an hour-long interview, and I don't think he's ever done that as Rutgers coach, done like an hour-long interview for either TV or podcasts or anything like that. He's done 8 to 10 minute segments for signing day. He's done like short little hits for different things, but never sat down for like a really long, wide-ranging interview. So I think it'll be interesting just to kind of you can't keep up coach speak for an hour. So I'm interested to see how that podcast goes.
I think that'd be pretty interesting. I shouldn't say he got a raw deal with Arizona State, but I don't know if you ever read the backstory on why he got fired or resigned. Whatever.
I can only imagine because it's he was just caught up in the tide with Herm.
No, well, yeah, sort of. No, but he was one of the a couple coaches that was paying for recruits' travel and housing on visits. They were giving free Arizona State apparel to kids, free of charge. Which that one, I don't give a shit. The school owns the apparel. I think that's stupid.
Yep.
He was also hosting recruits and traveling out of state to visit recruits. I don't know if it was him specifically, but this is what the staff was doing at the time, and taking visits, like meeting with recruits during dead periods, which. It's kind of weird to say because most coaches I know that I talk to, they're like, dead period. Whew, finally get to take a break. And these guys are like, no, fuck it. Keep working. And yeah, I don't know. That was an interesting one. But yeah, I think he's pretty, it's something to keep an eye on maybe for the future. Now that when time passes and people stop talking about it, maybe you get a new tight ends coach and his name's Adam Brenneman.
Yeah, if he wants to get into coaching, it seems like he's got a pretty good gig going with the media stuff, but
yeah. So we'll see.
So we've previously talked about how Rutgers is going to make another push into the portal for football. Now, What are you hearing regarding the portal? It sounds like we're going to look into wide receivers and offensive linemen primarily. Is that still what you're hearing?
Yeah, that's still accurate. I'm looking at the portal right now, trying to pop up, see if we have any notable names. Yeah, no, they definitely want a receiver. They need a wide receiver one. There's no question about it. We saw it in the spring game. I know you can blame the rain all you want. The offense still lacks of a playmaker.
And it seemed Brantley didn't play either. So
Chris Long wasn't dressed. So yeah, but I don't see Brantley as a wide receiver one type of guy. Should I pull him Adam Schefter moment real quick? Because I got a phone call from someone.
Yeah, do it.
Give me a sec. I'm going to put on mute. But just keep talking for a second.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
We can edit out that part if you want or whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna have to edit out.
That's fine. Benjamin Blackburn is no longer taking an official visit. All tight end visits have been canceled. They also had Julian Johnson set up for an official visit as well. That has been canceled. They have their 2 tight ends. They're done. No more tight ends. So all you on the board saying that they're going to get, like, they should push this guy, they should push that guy. They're done with tight ends. Done. Kaput.
Wow.
Kaput. Julian Johnson just committed to Minnesota, apparently.
Julian Johnson?
So, yeah. I think that was his name, Julian Johnson. Yeah, I think that was. He was like the track kid or wore a track hoodie. That's the only reason I know it. I remember weird shit when they post these tweets. He had a track hoodie with Shiano. And yes, he did commit to Minnesota on the 9th.
Okay.
But he was going to take an official visit before that. And then as soon as that got canceled, it was like, oh, I got to pick a school. Minnesota. So it sounds like Rutgers is going to beat out Minnesota there. So it's something to keep an eye on there. They're doing a lot better in recruiting. Mentioned a couple names. I know people are going to be like, well, what about Corey Duff? He's a tight end for Rivals. Yes, but they want him as a wide receiver. I do think they have a really good chance there still. I think they have a really good chance with New York in general. Maybe not the big boys in like West New York, like Marcus Harrison and Colin Cubberley, because it sounds like Harrison's leaning Wisconsin. I almost said West Virginia. And Cubberley hasn't scheduled official visits yet either, but I don't really see him going to Rutgers as well. But what else were we talking before we stopped?
I was kind of speculating that, we're still looking for a receiver. And
yes,
Jaquay Jackson's a guy who visited Rutgers. He also visited Miami, A&M, Colorado, West Virginia, Pitt. And since then, Colorado's landed 3 transfer receivers. A&M landed 1 yesterday. West Virginia landed 3 transfer receivers. Pitt landed a transfer receiver. It seems weird that he hasn't committed somewhere, given that he racked up all those offers and he visited so many places. Could this sneakily be someone that Rutgers is actually still involved with?
I'd keep an eye on it. Definitely keep an eye on it. It's definitely possible. I know he just got Michigan State the other day as an offer. I wouldn't be surprised if he decided relatively soon. Just because how many more visits can you really take?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Pitt was the most recent one. I don't see a graphic for it on his Instagram. I'm just going through his Instagram right now because it seems like most of every visit he's taken, he posted a graphic. I know Pittsburgh was technically an unofficial visit. So, but normally it's something I like to keep an eye on is like when it's unofficial visit or when it's when kids want to post their commitment graphic, they'll either take down the visit post that they already posted and then just repost those photos and just get more likes because it's a commitment. So of course they're going to get more likes.
Yep.
Or they just they take a visit and they don't post those visit photos because it's like, I'm saving that for when I commit. So,
yeah. Yep.
I know West Virginia is pursuing pretty hard. I know Pittsburgh's pretty hard. I don't know how hard A&M is going to pursue because they did just land a different D2 wide receiver. So, number one, we can get this whole narrative out of your head that D2 wide receivers can't play at the D1 level because I know everyone on the boards is like I'll actually, you know what? It was this kid. I posted him on the boards when Rutgers offered, and someone's like, D2, like, yeah, whatever. That's not a bad receiver. It's like he'll be wide receiver day one he steps on campus.
Yeah.
No, he won't. I'm like, yes, he fucking will. Watch the tape. Like they don't understand. They don't have weapons. They need weapons.
Yeah. No, I mean, people are just like so dismissive of anybody that isn't like an Ohio State player in the portal that was, doing big things. Like you have to be able to project guys the same way you have to, like, you wouldn't say that about a small high school kid. Like, you wouldn't say, like, oh, this kid from X small school in South Jersey, he can't play at Rutgers because he didn't play in the Big North. It's like, you wouldn't take that stance for a high school kid. So why are you taking it for a kid in college? Like, if the kid puts on enough, good tape, like, you got to give him a shot. Like, what else is Rutgers?
D2 All-American.
Yeah,
like the kid's good.
If a kid just, like, totally blows up the level he's at, there's a chance that he could also be good at the next level. If he's average at a lower level, you don't take him because the best he's going to be is average at the next level. So,
yeah. Your best lineman last year was JD Dorenzo. Like by far, your best lineman. I shouldn't say by far because Pierce was decent, but he was easily your best lineman. And look at him now; he's got an undrafted free agent contract.
Yep.
and NFL technically. And he played for Sacred Heart, like
Yep.
the fucking NEC.
Yeah.
Like, don't give me the bullshit that these guys can't play at this level. Like people, like I remember when we started the thread this year, it was like a Fordham wide receiver that I actually really liked, and it
Yeah.
made sense.
DeQuince Carter.
Played for Demir Shaw, and everyone's like, yeah, how do you know he can play at this level? It's like, dude, he's put on the tape. He's good. Like he's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? All of a sudden he goes to Indiana.
Yeah.
So good luck seeing him this year. It's gonna be fun to watch him fucking torch the defense. Probably not because the defense is pretty good this year, but regardless.
Yeah.
They want a receiver, they want a tackle. I haven't heard any tackle names at all, to be honest. I haven't even seen an offer thrown out to a tackle, but it seems like they're relatively working behind the scenes, kind of like just seeing where guys are leaning, like what they're hearing from other guys. Oh, this guy's leaning that way towards X school. This one's leaning towards Y school. Let's go pursue this one instead, or whatever. So they're kind of working in the shadows for alignment. They definitely want to tackle though. And I have a depth chart piece coming out on Monday, Tuesday. So I kind of played around with it. There's going to be a couple orders because it's a true competition. And just to tease it a little bit, like the offensive line, I think Pierce is your left tackle. Dunlap could be either guard spot. He played right guard last year, but the entire spring game he played left guard. So I would assume Pierce and Dunlap are your left side of the line. Your right side of the line, I just don't trust the guards. Like I'm okay. I'm actually not too need him at right tackle is the question mark. I just don't know how good he is, and the fact that they're kind of looking for a tackle kind of tells me that I don't think he's the starter. And then the rest of the young linemen, like no one's really produced yet. Like yeah, we saw Taj White in the game. He didn't look too bad. He actually looked like he got a lot better since I've last seen him. People are like Dante Chin looked phenomenal. He looked like he has size, and I'm like, yeah, he has size. And then Kenny Fletcher makes him do 2 180s, and it's like, okay, well, there goes the size. Other than that, the biggest thing you'll see on the depth chart that's a surprise is an or at kicker. I think the kicking job is right up for grabs still. I think Jay Patel's pushed Jude McAtamey quite a bit. And I think that's going to be an interesting one because that's an easy way to get points right there. So
yeah. Yep.
So other than that, though, I mean, football recruiting we went over, transfer portal done, coaches we don't have to worry about for football, thank God. Noonan and Valone are both kind of on the road. They're alternating, so that's kind of cool.
Okay.
Flaherty is going on the road a little bit, but he's not going too far. He'll go to like stomping grounds that he knows and he's familiar with, but for the most part, it's kind of like an alternating shift there for the three of them, that's fine. I think that's cool. I think that works.
Yep.
So, let's see. I think that's really it. Alex did post his season predictions. I think he's optimistic. I'll be honest there. At 6-6, or I think it was 6-6 or something like that. It's 6 wins. That's all I know. I still have 4 wins right now. Until you do something portal wise significant, then maybe I'll change my mind. But I still have 4. Everyone asked me about Northwestern. I don't think they're a threat. Don't get me wrong. Does Fitzgerald have bounce back years? Of course he does. That's why he's at Northwestern for as long as he's been. But they got a good quarterback, and I don't think that changes the dynamic of their team. I think we mentioned on here too, Shiano's teams for the most part always are really good in the early season, and I think then that's when teams kind of figure them out. And that's why it's kind of a downfall. It doesn't help that your end of the season is always fucking Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, like back to back. But I think they win this one pretty, not easily, but I think they definitely win this one. And then I don't want to go game by game, but I see 4 wins.
Yeah, I think we're going to ultimately know by the end of September where Rutgers is, because
that's true.
4 of their first 5 games are their most winnable. So they're going to have to really clean up early on in the season to even have a chance to bowl. Because if you say you win 4 of the first 5, so say you beat Northwestern, you beat Virginia Tech, you beat obviously Wagner, I think it is. Is it Temple we also play? Or is it?
It's Temple.
Temple, and then you play Michigan, who you're not going to beat. But
yeah, that's the rough one.
But then you have to beat teams like Indiana later in the year. You might have to steal one from Maryland because Maryland lost a ton of talent, but they still have
They reloaded though.
Tell you,
They got a nice roster. Like,
but there's
it's just the coaching staff sucks.
You're gonna have to steal a game at some point in order to make a bowl.
Yeah,
and you have to win the easy one. So not it's easier said than done for sure. But they have a very narrow path to making a bowl this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Unless someone backs out again.
It's true. You could always.
It's not going to happen ever again, I don't think. But man, talk about stepping in shit.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, Gator Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's one record. I don't know if that'll ever be broken. The most losses ever in a season where you participated in a bowl. 8 for Rutgers.
Jesus.
Raise the banner.
It did happen.
All right. We covered a lot today. Is there anything we haven't hit on that you wanted to touch on before we sign off?
Baseball plays this weekend. I think that's going to be a pretty cool thing. It's big for baseball, number one, because I think one of the websites has them as the first 3 or out of the first 4. They're the 3rd team out of the tournament, so they're very, very close. The RPI is there.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get some wins together.
Yep.
I don't think this Illinois team's great, but they're not bad either. So it's something to. Damn, I looked it up before. Hector had a whole article on them before. Previewing the series. Sunday's game is cool enough as Mother's Day. If you're not doing anything, obviously take your mom out to the ballpark. They're going down to Lakewood to play, so that would be kind of cool, a little bit different.
They're playing at the Blue Claw Stadium.
Yes, so awesome. I thought that'd be pretty sick. If I was Lakewood, I'd be like, hey, you know what? We don't need that stadium anymore. We pitched this idea last time. Let's just go to Somerset. And then it's like, oh, there you go. Not Somerset, Piscataway. There you go. You get your stadium built. You get a team. You get Rutgers a real stadium feel. That's an early game too, I think. I think it's a noon game. Yeah. So, yeah, that should be pretty cool. But you definitely gotta stack together some wins if you wanna put this or end the season on a high note and go to the tournament. You're also probably going to have to win some Big Ten tournament games, whether it be 1 or 2. They started out rough, but they're 30-18, which is pretty fucking solid. If you just say so myself.
Started the first 30 games. They were 15-15, and ever since they've gone 15-3. So the time you want to get hot is leading into the postseason. So
yeah,
still a shot at the NCAA tournament, but you do have to close just as strong as you've been these last 18 games, in my opinion.
Yeah. The nice thing is they play 2 of the lower teams in the conference. So they're going to play a 3-game series against Illinois. Then they play an 8-29 Albany team midweek. And then they go and play Minnesota, who's 7-11 in conference right now. So, yeah, you got to just stack together some wins. And I think they have a great shot at making the tournament. So shout out to them. And if you end up going on Sunday, let me know how it goes, because I won't be there.
Yeah, it should be a cool event. I also will not be there. I will be with my mom. But
exactly.
But thanks again for listening, guys. Thanks to everyone who's rated and reviewed the podcast. We have
real quick.
Now.
When you're done,
we are now the number 1 rated podcast on both Spotify and Apple. So thank you guys so much. Keep pouring in the reviews though, because those
don't stop.
The more that we get, the more the podcast will grow. The more scoops we'll have for you, the more guests we'll have for you. So just keep it up. Thank you so much for anybody who has rated or reviewed us. If you haven't already, we implore you to do it. 5 stars, the only thing we accept though. So if you want to leave the 3 stars at the door, that'd be
what
great.
Was his name again?
It was Dark Knight.
Harvey. Yeah, Harvey. Fucking Matt Harvey, piece of shit. What do you call it? What do we have? We have 110. Our competitor, I shouldn't say competitor, has 101. That's right, Fonz. Suck it. That goes for you too, Politi. I know you guys listen. You guys mentioned us a couple times. No, it's all in good fun. But seriously, give us more reviews, because I can't have 9 more reviews than them. I need a lot more, so then I can start really talking shit to them.
Mm-hmm. And those guys are great too. There's no beef.
No, they're great. I know some of you hate NJ.com, so put that in the little comment section when you're putting the rating. But no, the last thing I have to say is we are looking for a sponsor.
Yeah, a
title. So I might as well mention it on here. Title sponsor. So we're not going to go like Craig Carton and Evan, and it's like, oh, here's the Goodyear tire or whatever, 1-800 mattress or whatever the fuck they do now. Yeah, you're gonna have to deal with the cursing. That's I can tone it down a little bit if need be. But yeah, no, we're looking for a sponsor for the podcast. I think this is the easiest way to get it out there is just put it on the podcast.
Yep.
Kind of open to anything and everything. Yeah, that might stretch. You know what? That might have went too far.
There's a within reason there, but for sure,
yeah.
We are open to a podcast title sponsor. If you are interested, you can hit up either one of us on any of the social media platforms. But yeah, or you could email Richie. Do you feel comfortable putting your email out there?
Oh yeah, of course. It's RU Richie RICHIE @gmail.com. So yeah, this should be fun because I'm sure I'm gonna get emails like "fuck you, you suck, buddy." No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, definitely we need someone to sponsor us because we love the podcast and we want to keep it going. And the easiest way to do that is to have a little bit of income with it, which would be nice. And you get your brand. There's an ROI here. This isn't NIL. Yeah, we actually do an ROI.
Yeah, if you are serious about it, we have a proposal package that we would like to discuss with you. So feel free to contact us and we will set up a meeting. But
yeah,
thanks again for listening. I think we've exhausted the bag here.
Oh yeah, this was a deep one.
This was a deep one, but we hope it's a good.
Yeah, that was the worst fucking thing I could have said. Jesus. I'm done. I'm done.
But I hope
promise these jokes won't be on any sponsored pods.
Yeah, I hope this podcast guides you into a beautiful weekend in the Northeast. But for me and Richie, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.